Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel all about cross stitching. My name is Rosanna and I go by Bright and Dusty here on YouTube and on Instagram. This is Flosstube number 35 and it's been about a month since my last update. I'm trying a microphone today. We'll see how that goes. In the past, I had used a microphone for my flip throughs because I didn't have to put it on my lapel. When I was doing that, it was like creating all of this rustling noises, but I did get one of these fuzzy things to put on top of it, and I guess we'll see if that helps so that I can actually use it in like a regular video. So happy Christmas in July, everyone. I'm excited. I actually haven't done a ton of Christmas stitching yet, but I do have one Christmas FFO. And yeah, a couple of like winter Christmassy whips. And I do have a very sparkly sequin wreath brooch. That's quite large. So, oh, and Santa earrings. So I'm really getting into the spirit. And yeah, I did a lot of traveling the past few weeks, so that might get a little sprinkled in with some of the things I'm going to show. But for the first part of the video, I'm going to try to keep it all to the stitching, and then at the end I'll talk a little bit about my travels. And I'm going to put timestamps in the video so you can skip whatever you don't want to see. So let me start with my fully finished object, FFO, and this is Christmas themed. So this is Sugar. It's an animal cracker designed by Stacy Nash. I had purchased this at the Jingle Ball in December and started it shortly thereafter. So it's, yeah, I guess it's taken me about 6 months to get this finished. It's a pretty big animal cracker. And a couple of days ago, I took the time to turn him into this little stuffed animal. And I love how it turned out. You can see his bells down here. I came really close to sort of accidentally cutting off a little bit of the stitching around his boots, but I didn't. It's all there. These are trickier to finish than you might think. I'm still learning. This is the second one I fully finished. The other one was Chili the Penguin. And I like the way this one turned out better, and I think it's because of the way I stuffed it. Chili I stuffed with sawdust. This I stuffed with crushed walnut shells at the bottom and then polyfill for the top. And I just like the way it looks more. I think he has more dimension, he's more heft, and I'm very pleased. I backed it with a piece of scrap linen. This is actually a placemat, a linen placemat. I have a bunch of them and I can just use them as scrap. I like to back these with just plain linen because it makes them look a little more old-timey rather than using like a quilting cotton or something. But yeah. This was stitched 1/2 on a 40 count Silver Moon by Zweigart, except for the 310, which I used 2 strands. And then I pulled my own colors for these over dyed. And I guess that's all I really have to say. He's super cute, and I'm thrilled to have him finished. The next animal cracker I'm planning to start is Abigail. I did actually go ahead and buy Abigail the last time I placed an online order. So I have the pattern, I have it kitted, and she's gonna be the next one I stitch. She's the goat, like the patriotic goat. She's holding a firecracker. It's not like in your face patriotic, but she is holding a firecracker. Okay. Okay, that was my only FFO. As I mentioned, I did some traveling. I went to Colorado, so that involved air travel. So I had to be pretty selective about projects that I was going to bring. I chose 3 to bring with me. The trip was a little less than a week. It was like 5 nights. So I brought 3 projects, but I planned it ahead of time so that, you know, they were compact, they were easy to put in my luggage, easy to just stitch on the go. One of them is a whip that you haven't seen in a really long time. This is called the Old Winter by the Primitive Hare. And here's what it looks like when it's finished. I'm keeping it in this Christmas bag. So yeah, this is kind of a Christmas, I mean, technically it's winter, but I'm keeping it in a Christmas bag. I did not bring this bag with me when I was traveling. I put it in a smaller bag for obvious reasons. And then the last time you saw this, all I had was the letters at the bottom. And it's been a long time since I had pulled this out. And I'm sorry, nothing is ironed really. I wasn't planning to do this video today, but I figured I had the time and I may as well just get it done. The last time you saw it, all I had was these letters. So I've made a lot of progress. What I did before my trip, I took the time to outline the body because all of this area is one color. And you can see I've started filling it in down here. I think it's 839. DMC 839. So I started filling that in, and this was ready for just travel stitching. And yeah, I did work on it. Actually, I worked on all 3 of my travel projects that I brought. So I didn't end up wasting my luggage space. I did actually work on all 3. And mostly what I was doing was filling in. But now that the outline of the body is done, I would like to outline the head and the antlers. And just keep going on this. It's going to take a long time to fill it in. But this fabric is also by the Primitive Hare. You can see it's got all these printed snowflakes. The fabric is called the Snowfall. It is a 30 count linen. And there is like a light version of this fabric. It's called White Flakes, which is what the original deer was stitched on. But I got the like tan version with the white snowflakes. But yeah, this is a nice linen. It's a nice design. I like the way they coordinate. So I'm happy with how this is turning out. That was one of my travel projects. One of the other ones is the TV dinner by Perfidious Beadworks on Etsy. Here is where here's what the finished design looks like. For traveling, I actually kept it in this really tiny clear bag. You can see my floss is in there. These little clips are in there because I was stitching in hand. This is one of my stitch in hand projects. So I kept it in this bag. I actually took it on the airplane and stitched on the airplane on the way there. The only reason that worked is because there was nobody sitting next to me. It was just sheer luck. Andrew and I had a 3-row area and the middle seat was empty. So I was able to do some stitching on the airplane on the way there. Okay, so here is what TV dinner looked like the last time you saw it. And here is where it is now. So I filled in a little bit more of the drumstick area. Mostly I'm starting to flesh out the frame. So mostly it was like the light colored areas, and then up here, oh wait, that's the wrong, I'm looking at it backwards. Actually, it was over here. So all this stuff, that's new. And I did pretty well. I think between the airport and the airplane, I think I did like 350 stitches. So that was pretty good. Yeah, and we had a direct flight, so this is looking good. I think I just passed the 50% mark. I had to rechart this, and I'm using it in Cross Stitch Saga. So that was my second travel stitch. The third one, actually, I'm going to save that for new starts. It's almost finished, but technically it's a new start. So this next whip is called Something Wicked. This is it's a Halloween mystery sampler that came out in 2014. It's by Sam Sarah. It's out of print. And if you're trying to track it down, you need to remember that you have to find all 3 parts, because the whole thing is not printed in the last one. So it came out in 3 installments, and you need all 3. I've been doing a lot of fill-in on this, especially in the evenings. So here's where it was the last time you saw it. And now here it is now. What I've been doing is working on the jack-o'-lanterns. I've been doing a lot of fill-in down there and also some outlining. So this is really coming along. It's not really close to done. If I really pushed on it, you know, I could probably finish it. But there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of birds in the middle. There's some specialty stitches down here. I still have to do the other flower, finish this flower, and do a little bit more fill-in. So it's not quite there yet, but I do feel like I have a pretty good chunk. This fabric is 32 count petite point linen by Zweigart. And yeah, I pulled my own over-dyed floss, and I'm also using some DMC in areas where it doesn't really matter. And I think so far I'm pretty happy with my colors. I did notice somehow, I don't know what I did with this banner, but it's like two rows off, or 2 columns off. I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna make some adjustments down here when I'm doing the birds and stuff. I don't know what I did. I've been examining it and I really can't figure. I think I just must have miscounted the banner. Okay, so that's a fun one. Okay, I believe this is my last whip. This is an older whip of mine. Yeah, I showed the spring house last video, which was also a pretty old whip. And it just felt really good to get that done. And I decided I was gonna pick another, you know, older one to maybe concentrate on and push for a finish. I mean, this one actually isn't anywhere near done, but it's called Seaside by Hello from Liz Matthews. Here is what the finished piece looks like. The last time you saw this, I was working in the bottom area with all the fish. So the last time you saw it, this is what you saw. So yeah, here's what I had done the last time. For this rotation, I decided to get a start on the top half with the house. So I don't have a whole lot to show, but you can see I'm getting going on the house. My goal is to finish the outline of the house, all the windows, all the stuff in the house, and then just get it ready for fill-in. And I've got a pretty good start on that. So the fabrics, this is actually 2 pieces of a fat quarter. It's called Graceful Gray by Wishelt. I dyed the bottom half blue. Actually, I guess it wouldn't be the bottom half. I dyed half of it blue. I left half of it just the original color. And I love the way this blue turned out. So I'm happy to have pulled this out, just get going on it. I love this design. I would like to see it finished. Okay, that concludes my whips. I'm gonna take a break to make sure my microphone is working okay, because I don't want to redo this entire video again. And then I'll come back and do new starts. Everything seems to be working. I hope I'm correct about that. And since I took a little break, I grabbed Chili just to kind of do a size comparison. Chili, I stitched it on a 32 count, whereas Sugar, I stitched on a 40. And you can see they're pretty much the same size. Actually, yeah. So Sugar has a lot more stitching, just FYI, than your typical animal cracker. Oh yeah, don't they look cute together? They're best friends. Now I'll get into my new starts. I have 3. So the first one, this is a new release kit by Letty Stitch. It came out within the last couple of months. It's called Raven's Library. And I waited until it hit 1, 2, 3 stitch a few weeks ago, and I immediately purchased it. And I got to start on it because there's a stitch along happening. It is called the hashtag Be Like a Crow Sal, and it's hosted by Bethany Burstitcher and Cats in Cross Stitch on Instagram. So Bethany messaged me and was like, we have a crow sal going on. You should start your raven kit. And that's all the encouragement I needed. And here is how far I got, which isn't too bad. I started in the center, and then I immediately knocked out that crow or raven. And then I started kind of making my way down. I want to stitch some of the potion bottles and just get into some of the beautiful colors. So that's what I'm doing. And I love it. I'm actually using the kit Ada. I don't usually do that because typically it's too stiff for me, but this is a 16 count. It's not an 18, and I think that is making a difference. And I also washed it. I only washed it once. I've heard that it's a good idea to wash it maybe 2 or 3 times to soften it up. I just did it once, and because it's a 16, I think it's pretty comfortable. And yeah. And here are the beautiful colors. Lots of purples. And I'm keeping it in this bird bag that I made. Roses on the back. Also, with Letty Stitch, just so you know, if you buy one of their new kits, inside there is a QR code that takes you to the listing on their webpage to get the digital file. Now, it's a little confusing because that link, there's like a price listed, and it's like $50. But the digital file is free because inside the kit, it gives you a code, basically a coupon code. All right. So when you go to the listing from the QR code and it says like $50, you don't pay that as long as you own the actual kit. You just need to put it in your cart. You go to checkout and then you enter the code inside the kit into the coupon field, and then it's $0. So I hope that makes sense. It's actually quite easy, but I guess if you don't have experience with Letty Stitch, you might not know that. Yeah, and this is my first Letty Stitch kit. But now I have the digital file. They send you the PDF, they send you the Cross Stitch Saga file for the Saga program, and then they send you another type of file. I'm not sure what program that's for, but they do send you just the regular PDF as well. So I'm having a lot of fun with that kit. Hopefully I'll get some more progress on it. Other new starts. Well, I'll do the small one. This is Buttons and Beads Vino Bianco. So I had basically purchased this as like a partial kit on eBay. Most of the threads are there, the beads. I'm using my own fabric. This is a 16 count Parchment Aida by Wishelt. And yeah, I've just got a little bit of the bottom done, and then I got started on the wine glass here. It's ghosting a little bit. I think once it's done, it'll show up fine. And yeah, this is a giant a giant piece of fabric. I decided not to cut it down. I'm just using it in the hoop this way. And I also have the companion, which is called Vino Rosso, and I'm thinking I might just stack that on top and then maybe put it in a long frame. But I have a bunch of Mill Hill kits, and I'm just thinking I gotta start stitching them because they're really piling up and I love them. So I finally got this one started. Okay. My last new start, which is actually almost finished. This is called Winter Cove from By the Bay Needle Arts. So cute. And here's what I've got. I have 3 more snowflakes I need to do, and then I have some back stitching. This is 18 count Heather Aida from Fiber on a Whim. And in my opinion, it matches the color of the model pretty well. And I think the white is showing up great on this. So that's just something to keep in mind if you need to do white stitching. The color Heather from Fiber on a Whim is good for that. So the reason I'm moving so fast on this is because my goal is to get it done by the Midsummer Stitch, the virtual event hosted by Lindy Stitches that is happening on July 18th and 19th. I want to get it done by then because I signed up for Jandy Dean's notebook class. She's going to teach how to make a journal cover. And I got my journal insert, so it's a plastic insert. I got this from Lindy Stitches. And basically, you can see the pictures. Jandy is going to teach us how to assemble our notebook, our journal cover. Yeah, and I just thought that was a really cool idea. The class is only $10. I mean, you have to buy the $15 ticket to get into the Midsummer Stitch. And then on top of that, it will be an extra $10 for the class. And then this journal cover, I think it was like $30, I want to say. And you can get it through Lindy Stitch's website. So I don't know. I just wanted to do one of the classes, and this is what kind of intrigued me. There's another class too, which looked really cool, but I don't think I'm going to do that one. So I'm on track. This is the other, this is the third project that I took traveling. And I actually made considerable progress on it because, once again, I outlined everything down here so that I could just fill it in. And the tree, I was just filling in for when I was on my trip and we had downtime. And yeah, now it's almost done. The past few days, I have just been doing like one snowflake every day. I have 3 left. And yeah. The thing about the notebook class is if you sign up, Jandy will send you a PDF that explains measurements. So you have to pick, she suggests several different patterns that would fit, but then she gives you like the measurements and the stitch count in case you want to pick a different one. So this one is going to fit, and I actually already, you know, since I had my journal cover, I like made sure that it was going to be within the margins. So I think that's going to be really fun. This is charted in DMC. So that is the end of my new starts. Let me go over the giveaway from last time, and I have a new giveaway. So pause. The giveaway from last time, the first one was this magazine. I did the random comment picker, and the winner is Dawn-N3S. If that's you, go ahead, email me, brightanddusty@gmail.com with your name and mailing address, and that email will be in the description box below as well. The winner of The Doors by Tiny Modernist is Doreen Dubois 5137. So if that's you, once again, just email me. I pulled 2 new things for giveaways. So this one is going to be US only. Please be 18 years of age or older. So you can give me your mailing address. Please do not use any trigger words in your comment like giveaway, free, win, or prize, things like that, so we don't attract any bots. This is a Dimensions 5x7 kit. It's called Be a Light to the World. I think. Yeah, it is. And yeah, the colors in this are so beautiful. I actually already have this kit, which is the only reason I'm giving this one away. So if you're in the United States, please use numeral 1 in your comment if you're interested in this kit. This is a full kit. It was opened, but I checked. Everything's in there. It's, you know, it's new condition. Someone had just opened the sleeve. The needle is even in there, so. This next one can be sent anywhere. It can be international or United States. This is by Lindy Stitches, and it's called Bunny Lace Trio. Let me rotate them so you can see them a little better. So how cute are those bunnies? So this is pattern only, and yeah, I can send it anywhere. So if you're interested in this, use number 2, numeral 2 in your comment. And yeah, I'll just announce those next time. I'll do Save the Stitch. I brought some out for Christmas in July. Oh, actually, the first one is a small one, and this is not Christmas. This is actually like 4th of July, since that just happened. So let me show that one first. I've had this for a while. I just never managed to show it in a video. This is an older Mill Hill kit. I think it might be called Land of Liberty or something. But I believe this is one of the ones that has been discontinued. And yeah, I just found it finished at an antique mall. I think it was like $4. And it's really pretty. And it's got a bunch of these buttons. And then some beads. And it looks like these are satin stitches along the edge. Really nice. So 4th of July just happened a couple days ago for us in the United States, so I thought I would just pull this one out as a little fun stitch. Yeah, looks like they just use all the kit stuff, the perforated paper. This even looks like a Mill Hill frame to me. Maybe. The next 2 are going to be Christmas. Yeah, I tried to figure out what this is. I couldn't find it. So this says, Merry Christmas. Oh, I'm sorry if that created any rustling noise. Here, let me do this side. I gotta get used to this microphone. Merry Christmas with a really elaborate border. And then of course there's Santa. And I did a Google image search to try to figure it out. This looks like it probably came out of one of those Leisure Arts books or something. If anyone recognizes it, let me know. But I think it's beautiful. It's cool because it's not the bright Christmas red. It's more of a maroon and then a dusty pink. So I thought that was really neat. I will probably take it out of the frame and do something with it. It's kind of a large frame. It wasn't professional. I mean, it looks really nice. Don't get me wrong, but I don't have the wall space to accommodate it. So we'll see, but I do really love this design. Okay, this next one, I figured out what it is. It's from a Dimensions kit. It's called Merry Christmas Patchwork from 1983. Isn't that so adorable? There's so many details. I think my favorite part is the ladybug up here. But there's some mice, there's some bears. Yeah, there's a mouse over here. And it's lovely. This was not framed under glass. It's It's bare, and then you can tell there's batting underneath. It's a little puffy. And this was not professionally framed. Actually, maybe it was. I think it was. I think it's just the frame is a little banged up. And this one, I think I might just leave in the frame and hang it up in December when I sort of rearrange my display wall back here for Christmas. But I was happy to find this. I love the colors, and it's just really festive and fun. And I think you can still find this kit on eBay and things like that. So once again, Merry Christmas Patchwork, 1983. I actually have one more Save the Stitch, but I'm just gonna leave it for when I kind of talk about my travels. So let me think. As far as haul goes, I think I'm just gonna sort of sprinkle it in when I'm talking about some of the places I went. As far as the stitching is concerned, that's done. The rest is going to just be talking about a little bit of traveling and a little bit of haul. So if you just came for the stitching, I will catch you next time. The first little bit of traveling I wanted to talk about, this happened earlier in June. So on June 11th, I took a day trip to go and see a train, a locomotive called the Big Boy 4014. And once again, I'm doing timestamps, so if you don't want to hear about this train, you can skip ahead. But I don't know if you heard about this. This train, it started off in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It is a locomotive from the 1940s. They built, I want to say maybe like 25 of them in the 1940s to haul like massive loads around the mountains out west. So these things were huge. And I guess they were hauling stuff around until like the 1960s, when I believe they started being retired. So this is the last one that runs, the last functional Big Boy locomotive. And for the 250th anniversary of America, it went across the entire country, starting in Cheyenne, I believe, and then it came east. This thing weighs over 1 million pounds. Getting it across the country was a huge ordeal. There are only certain tracks in the country that will hold this thing. So they had to be pretty particular about the route they were going to take. And it just so happened that they were coming through New York State, about an hour from where I live. So I found out all of this was happening basically like maybe the week before. And then I had to kind of figure out how to see it. I did figure it out. And this happened on June 11th. So I'm just going to insert a couple of clips here where I'm actually at the site, and then I have a video of the train as it comes through. That whole segment is going to take probably like 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm going to insert that here in case you wanted to experience the train and the whistle. It has a loud whistle. If you're wearing headphones, you might want to turn them down. Okay, but I'm going to insert that right here. Hi, I am here in the small, I don't know, village of Cameron Mills, New York, which is about an hour and 20 minutes from where I live. Today there is a historic train coming through this area. It's called the Big Boy 4014. So I made the trip, a little solo adventure here on a very, very hot day to see if I can successfully see this train as it passes through. It was in Buffalo a couple days ago, and it's been making a few stops on the way. I think it's heading to Pennsylvania. And it made some official stops in Letchworth, New York, and then Hornell, New York today. But I just knew those were going to be overrun with like thousands of people. So I did some research to try to figure out where the tracks were. And it took me a while to figure it out. I'm not really a train person. But finally I found a map of the tracks and I found where this train is coming. So we'll see if I'm able to get any pictures or video or what. But I'm just hoping this will be a fun experience. This is, I think, the biggest train still operational in the US. There's 8 of them that still exist, but this is the only one that runs. And I don't really think it's going to be running across the country again. This was for the 250th anniversary of America. So, once in a lifetime opportunity, and we'll see what happens. Okay, a short recap of what happened. I did get to see the train. Let's see, I arrived at the tracks at 2:19 p.m. and the train rolled in at 3:17. So I was waiting for about an hour, which really wasn't too bad at the end of the day. And there were a lot of people at the tracks. Not nearly as many as there would have been if I had gone to one of the like central stops that were planned. But yeah, there was a fair amount of people there, and it was really cool because, you know, there wasn't really any like police presence around regulating anything. It was kind of like, well, see this giant train at your own risk, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience. When it has a really loud horn, and you can hear it coming miles down the road because it will blast the horn whenever it's going through a crossing. So we heard it in the distance pretty distinctly, and people around me were like, there it is, it's coming, it's coming. And then a couple minutes later, we heard it again because it was going through another crossing. And after that, the warning bells started ringing at the tracks where we were, and the guardrails lowered down, And at that point, everyone was just waiting in anticipation. And it happened so fast. It just, you know, we saw it approaching, it whizzed by, and I was really happy to be able to get a little bit of footage of that. And yeah, overall, a really exciting afternoon. I am so happy I decided to do this. Yesterday, I was talking to Andrew and I was just like, you will not believe the amount of time I spent figuring out train tracks today. And he was just like, okay. Like, what is wrong with you? But I have no regrets. I'm really happy I went. It was really exciting. I don't know if I'm going to become a historic train chaser, but you know, maybe. And yeah, I had a really nice day going on my little adventure. I think I was getting some stares because first of all, I was by myself, and I was also wearing kind of like a sundress and this giant straw hat and flats, and I was like kind of, you know, I think I looked a little odd there down on the embankment. I was a little overdressed, let's say, but whatever. I had a great time, and yeah, until the big boy 4014 comes through my neck of the woods again, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but until the next time, I will be looking forward to it. I had a fantastic time seeing the big boy. After it passed through this area, it went down to Scranton, Pennsylvania, where it was hanging out for a couple of weeks. There is another big boy at Steamtown Historic Site in Scranton. That one doesn't run, but they were able to park them next to each other, which I guess is the first time this type of train has been reunited since since the 50s. So people were going to see it down there, but the thing is, if you went to see it at Steamtown on display, you didn't really get to see it run. So I'm lucky that I did get a chance to actually see it in action, and I thought that was really exciting. And now it's heading back west. Who knows if it will return again. Okay, so that's the end of my tale about the train. On the way there, so I was taking this day trip. I was by myself. I stopped for lunch. I did various things. In Bath, New York, there was a tiny thrift shop, just like very, very random. Coincidentally, there was a bunch of vintage cross-stitch stuff. I'm not going to show all this right now. I might just save it for a flip through. But it was pretty cool. I did find this magazine, Just Cross-Stitch April 2001. A car just went by. I don't know if you could hear that. And as soon as I saw the cover, I was like, oh, I want this. Because I knew that there's a Nora Corbett chart in here. Of course, now I can't find it. It's the chandelier. So this is by Nora Corbett. I've always wanted this design because I love antique lamps. But this is the only place you can get it, I think, is in this issue of the magazine. So I just got really lucky, and it happened to be at that tiny thrift store for like, I can't remember if it was 50 cents or $1, but I picked it up. And then the other cool thing in that stash, I mean, there were several cool things, but I'm not going to show them all right now. I found 2 more of these ornament leaflets. So these are by Douglas Designs, and they're called Victorian Christmas Treasures. There's a bunch of them. This one is number 9. So yeah, there's a lot of these. I love that little gemstone one. It's really cool. And then I think this is the original one because it doesn't have a number up there. So now I have 3 of these leaflets because I had found another one elsewhere. So I definitely got to pick some ornaments that I want to do. And like I said, there was a few other things in the stash that I got just because they were really, really inexpensive. So that was a cool detour. Okay, so that concludes my day trip that I took to see the big boy. Now I'll talk briefly about going to Colorado. I had never really been to Colorado before except passing through when I was 22 years old. So this was the first time I'd ever spent any time there. We were visiting some of my husband's extended family in Fort Collins for a few days, and after that, Andrew and me went down to Boulder. So I found a couple of cool things in Boulder. First of all, Boulder does have a craft thrift shop, and we were able to stop there. I found a few things. I found a little bit of fabric, actually, which was nice. And then I also found this kit for $8. It's called Sing a Song of Christmas by Marty Bell, published by Pegasus Publications. And this is really my style. And I like the photo on the front doesn't look really good, but I know that these Marty Bell designs, when they're actually stitched, they look amazing. And this was a full kit. And this is a lot of floss. So I was really happy to grab this. I have a few Marty Bell charts, and I'm always kind of like on the fence about starting one. The fact that this one already has the floss makes me more inclined to do this, plus it's Christmas. So that was just a cool find. I went to a couple of just regular thrift shops. Everyone is always telling me, you know, on Instagram, like, in my area, there's just nowhere near the amount of stitching at thrift shops that you find. And after visiting a few thrift shops in Colorado, I have to say I agree with you. I really didn't find too much. It does seem to be more sparse. But I found a couple of things. And the first thing I'll show is actually a finished piece. Here it is. So I found this at a Goodwill in Boulder. I was really excited because, you know, B is for bear, but B is also for Boulder. So I bought this because I really just want to finish it maybe into a pillow or something and have it be my souvenir from my trip. I also just think the design is beautiful. I did an image search. This had been on Etsy, but I don't think it's there anymore, as far as I could tell. But it's really cute. This is on an Aida. Looks like probably a 14 count Aida. So at Goodwill, this was in a frame. And I was like, well, I have to get on an airplane tomorrow. I'm not going to bring a frame in my luggage. So what I did was I purchased the whole thing. I went to my car, rental car. I took this out of the frame, and then I just walked back to Goodwill and donated the frame back. So that worked out. I didn't have to waste a frame, and I didn't have to put it in my luggage. And now I can finish this into something fun. The other thing I found at that same thrift store is a chart by M Designs. It's called Thistle, Clock, and Sampler. You can see, yeah, there's a lot of thistles. And this was also kind of cool because Andrew and I went on a hike while we were in Boulder. We went on a short, moderate hike. I didn't want to do a ton of like strenuous hiking because I'm not used to the altitude. But we did do like an hour and a half. We saw some beautiful scenery, and up there were these wild thistles growing, and he got a picture. I didn't get any pictures when we did the hike because I didn't bring my phone. But yeah, we saw some beautiful wild thistles growing out there, and so this would also be kind of a cool project to commemorate my trip. All right, so is that about it for the haul? The haul on my trip, yeah. I mean, I didn't find a ton, and that's fine because I couldn't fit it in my luggage anyway, even if I had. But I did find some cool things. I did want to insert one short video here of the Botanical Gardens in Denver. So this was the day that we were leaving. We were flying out of Denver, but we weren't flying out until 6 p.m. So we had some time to kill. We went to the art museum and we went to the Botanical Gardens in Denver. The Botanical Gardens were probably my favorite part of the whole trip. I thought they were just absolutely stunning. And quite large. I think it's probably the biggest botanical gardens I've personally been to. And they had this area with this lovely pond. It was full of water lilies of all different colors. And yeah, they have to use some kind of treatment in the water to prevent the algae from growing. They had a plaque explaining this, and like whatever treatment they use makes the water quite dark. But that means that the flowers were reflecting off the water. It was just such a beautiful effect. So I'm going to insert a video here showing that little pond. Some of the flowers. You can see the dragonflies flying around. There were a few ducks. And yeah, you can see the water lilies, just how their reflection in the water was just really stood out to me. So if you're ever in Denver, I would definitely recommend checking out the Botanical Gardens. I loved the Botanical Gardens. The art museum was also really nice and quite big. That was the last thing we did, so we didn't get to see the whole thing. We were a little bit in a rush. There was this one painting of a woman in a pink dress, which I can insert here. That was my favorite painting, I think. There was also a still life with flowers, sunflowers, and butterflies, I think. I also really liked that one. I can insert that. It was a beautiful art museum. The lady in the pink dress, I was sort of considering, you know, maybe trying to chart it as a 5x7 to see if I want to stitch her. But that might be a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Sounds a little complicated. And I'm not sure how good she would look as a 5x7. But that was just a thought that crossed my mind. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the names of those paintings. I did take pictures of the plaques, so hopefully I inserted those as well. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say about my travels. This was my first time on a plane since 2023. So it's been a while. It's been a while since I've taken like a big vacation. And Andrew and I had a lot of fun. There was a lot going on, you know, because we visited his family, and we packed a lot of stuff into a short period of time. I feel like both of us were pretty stressed out at different points in time. But overall, we had a really nice trip, and I'm glad I got to see some of Colorado. And then I just remembered I wanted to speak briefly about the antique I've started to rechart. Let me go grab it. I posted about this to Instagram. This is the antique sampler I found last winter. I finally got around to taking it out of the frame. As you can see, it's pretty fragile. The frame was really bad, and I'm just gonna throw it out. It was not the original frame from the 1800s. This had been reframed at some point, and you can tell when they reframed it, they framed it like this. So they cut off a bunch of the stitching in the frame. I have started to rechart this. I've only just started. I can insert a picture of my progress. And I'm just using basic colors at first. Eventually, I would like to chart this in some over-dyed cotton. My plan is to go up to Hobby House with the DMC that I'm picking, and then choose, you know, a set of over-dyed colors. And then I'm gonna stitch it. And I know it's not the most exciting sampler in the world, but I love it, and I want to make a reproduction. So this is gonna be a long process. I've only just begun, so yeah. It's gonna take me a while. But eventually, when it's all finished, and hopefully I've like finished my own stitched version, I will be able to make that pattern available to anyone who's interested. I mean, I'm not doing this as like a money-making venture or anything. If anything, I would probably just charge like, you know, $5 for it. Because I'm doing this for my own edification. I do not intend to become a designer or anything like that. This is more just for me, just as a cool thing to do. So stay tuned for updates. Like I said, that's gonna take a while. But it has taken me months to actually, you know, sit down and get it started. So I'm really happy I finally did that. I think that's about all I had to say. I did briefly, I've been buying Mill Hill kits, like I said, I really need to get these started. But one of them did come with the perforated PVC, because it's like a new release. And I don't know if you've been seeing chatter online about this, but like I believe it's Wishelt, right? That distributes these. they're painting the PVC. They're painting plastic. And what's happening is it's getting stuck to the paper inside. And mine isn't too bad. Like, I pulled it off the paper where it was kind of sticking, and you can see there's some like lines where the paint is coming off. So I've just been noticing some chatter in the Facebook groups and stuff. A lot of people have been reaching out to Wishelt to get like a replacement. Mine really isn't that bad. This is fine. But yeah, some people, they're peeling it off the paper and like a bunch of paint is coming off. So hopefully Wishelt is on top of this and they're gonna fix it. I personally think it's very unfortunate that they stopped using the perforated paper. I thought there wasn't really anything wrong with it. And who wants to stitch on plastic anyway? But I'm just kind of bringing it up just as a, you know, something to be aware of buying these new Mill Hill kits. Hopefully they get it figured out. There's got to be some way to make sure the paint isn't going to strip. I have so much perforated paper. If I really, I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to stitch this on perforated paper. But if I did, I have a lot that I could just use that's actual paper. But I know that many people are not in that situation. And, you know, you're counting on this to actually be good. So, I don't know. But yeah, it's not the fault of anyone, any store that's selling these. It's the fault of, you know, Wishelt. All right. I believe that's all I wanted to talk about. And thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. Maybe I'll see you at Midsummer Stitch. And until next time, happy stitching. Bye.